For more on the rapidly developing Russia-Ukraine crisis, we have with us retired four-star general of the U.S. Air Force and former NATO Supreme Allied Commander Philip Breedlove. General Breedlove, thank you for taking time. Want to get right to this call now. Apparently may have lasted more than an hour between President Biden and Vladimir Putin. What do you make of where things stand, sir?
Well, first of all, I'm glad they're talking. And I'm glad it has taken time. We want to find a way out of this without bloodshed. And so we need to celebrate that. There are big concerns. You just had General Ben Hodges talk to you, and I agree with everything he said. I want to take a little umbrage with words that are being about full-scale invasion. I've said more than once, the forces on the borders are not enough to do what I would call a full-scale invasion, but the forces that are on the border are more than enough to do several options for Mr. Putin. One of them, including, is to put great pressure on Kyiv.
General, what should the president be saying to Vladimir Putin right now? What is the message that he should be sending that would get us out of being on the brink as it appears things are now?
Well, it'd be crazy for me to advise our president, but if it was me, I would be offering him both carrots and sticks. We have some things that we want to talk, both of us want to talk about: force structures, intermediate range nuclear missiles, etc. in Europe, and we should try to move forward on those. We should also make it very clear that if he invades Ukraine, he's going to get the very things he doesn't want. Many ask, why are we sending forces to the NATO nations and sending them into the forward areas? Griff, if you remember what they put in the two letters that they sent to us recently, what they said was no more forces in the forward area and no more capability in the forward area. So the president needs to point out to Mr. Putin that his current actions are getting him exactly what he didn't want, because we, America, are sending more capability now to the forward forces because of his inerrant actions.
General, you were just recently in Ukraine. What was the purpose of your trip and what did you learn?
I went over with a group of former U.S. to Ukraine ambassadors and Ben Hodges, another general officer. And as a group, we were there to talk to our partners and to assure them and to find out from them what they still needed. And to listen to their senior leadership. We listened to the president all the way down to the leaders of the three main parties about what they saw and how they expected Ukraine to act.
General, I was a reporter at the White House yesterday, and we were really taken aback at really the urgency with which National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan came into the briefing room and said that Americans need to get out within 24 hours. Now, he would not elaborate for obvious reasons on what exactly has transpired in the last 24 hours to change the posture so drastically, but can you give us some insight on what that might be?
Well, we've been seeing a lot of intelligence indications that the force is readying itself for action should Mr. Putin choose. You know, 3 or 4 weeks ago, the Russian forces were parked in almost administrative positions. It was almost like they were parked so that the satellites could see them to sort of stir up the hype. But sadly, what we've seen across the last 3 or 4 days, and certainly the last week, is that those forces have been moving into more tactical formations, tactical locations. We've seen those enabling capabilities coming from the rear area. The one you hear the most about is the blood. It's just one of them, but logistics, ammunition, etc., that the force would need if it actually employs.
General, as a former NATO Supreme Allied Commander, what do you anticipate will be NATO's response should this Russian aggression continue?
Well, the first and foremost thing is increased solidarity. I think Mr. Putin has sort of got the message that his attempt to break up NATO and also the EU, I think, is backfiring here, because NATO is pulling closer together in their response to this and in their approach and their method or their message back to Russia. And so I think we're going to see more and more readiness. You've already seen multiple nations in NATO sending aircraft, sending troops to the forward area. We're sending troops to the forward area. And so once again, the things that Mr. Putin said were unacceptable in the two letters, he's actually causing to happen, and I expect to see more of that.
And in terms of what we expect to see, even if it's a lesser scaled invasion, as you pointed out at the beginning of the interview, are we on the brink to a point where things are unavoidable now at this point?
I'm not going to speculate. I think that what is very clear is that Mr. Putin now has all the capabilities that he needs to execute one of several options: a move into the north to pressure Kyiv, a move through the center into the Donbass to put great pressure on NATO and the EU, saying, we're here, we're in charge, you're not here, you're not in charge, etc. And then also a move along the southern coast that would cause great economic damage to Ukraine if they were to surround and isolate the port of Mariupol and then move on to the northern edge of Crimea.
General Philip Breedlove, amazing insight. Thank you, sir, for taking time.